Good morning, everybody. I'd like to welcome you to our 2022 Pearl Harbor Remembrance Ceremony. My name is Matt Mercurio. I'm the Director of Parks, Recreation, and Social Services. Presiding over our ceremony today is our Mayor, Owen Henry. I'd like to thank some of our dignitaries who are here in attendance. We have Councilwoman Anita Greenberg, Business Administrator Himanshu Shah, and our two local assemblymen as well. Rob Clifton, and I don't know how to pronounce Alex Wiki.
It's not your fault. We spell it really weird.
Now I will kick it over to Mayor Owen Henry for him to.
Thank you, Matt, and welcome everyone. Good morning. We'll get our ceremony started with the Pledge of Allegiance. Would everyone please rise, remain standing. In today's Pledge of Allegiance, I would like to dedicate to Mr. Tom Jackson. He passed away last week. Tom was here every year, I believe, as mayor. He was the chaplain for one of our VFW posts, and he always recited a poem that I had for the Navy. So a special dedication, today's Pledge of Allegiance to Mr. Tom Jackson, who would have been 90 years old today. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. And also a moment of silence, please, for all our men and women servicemen who have fought over the decades for this country, and especially today in our hearts and our prayers for our people, our young men and women who died at Pearl Harbor 81 years ago this morning. A moment of silence, please. Thank you. Please be seated. As I said a few seconds ago, good morning and welcome everyone to our Pearl Harbor Remembrance Day ceremony. Today, around the country, we remember, we acknowledge, and we pay tribute to those who lost their lives, and it's hard to say, 81 years ago. You know, as we see the news film and the recordings of how young all those men were, they were boys. I think some as young as 16 years old were allowed to join the Merchant Marines at that time, and they were at Pearl Harbor. I believe the Navy allowed people to join at 17 if you had the signature of your parents. And many young men, many young boys took that as an option. As you know, the country was just coming out of the Depression. So they made that sacrifice to join the military. And I'm sure the last thing they thought of, that they were going to be attacked from the sky 81 years ago in Pearl Harbor. And the lives lost, the lives that never happened, what could have been. They had so much to live for, and their lives were taken. And as I said, the attack is well documented on film. We've all seen it. And many firsthand accounts have been recorded on tape. We've heard them. We see their faces. But we also have to realize that many of the participants of 81 years ago are not here with us. They would be at the ripe old age of above 95 if they were there, closing in on 100. Very few people who've seen it firsthand, who witnessed Pearl Harbor firsthand, are alive today. So we have an obligation as American citizens who enjoy the freedoms that they've died for that day and what the country was thrown into over the next few years, World War II. We have an obligation, a responsibility to stand here every Pearl Harbor Day for as long as we can. And then we also have an obligation to pass it on to the generation that's following us. And as Americans, I'm sure we all feel the same, that we have a great deal, we owe a great deal to those who died that day and to those who gave their lives for their country and us in the years that followed. Pearl Harbor. So today we pledge, as we do every year, and we will every year as long as we can stand and breathe, let us never forget. Let us never again become, as the quote was, the sleeping giant, which led to our, I guess, not being on guard, not being ready for a country to attack us. And we seem like we hear about that in the news almost every day. If it's not a cyber attack on this country, last week in North Carolina, our grid, our electrical grid was attacked. So we need to be vigilant. We need to be Americans. We need to be good citizens and take this word attack out of our vocabulary. So I thank you again for coming here this morning. We have a speaker. Assemblyman Rob Clifton would like to say some words. So Rob, please, thank you. And thank you for joining us. Rob and Alex, thank you.
So it's an honor to be here again this year to remember and commemorate this day, along with my running mate, Assemblyman Alex Sawicki. Unfortunately, Old Bridge's own Senator Sam Thompson couldn't be here this morning. And I've been to a lot of these with Sam. And Sam was a young man, child, when Pearl Harbor happened. And it's always great to hear his take on what it was like. He grew up in the South, and to hear about that time and the reaction. About a year ago August, my mother passed away. She was 88 years old. And her best friend attended the funeral, and then we had a repast. And if you know downtown Matawan, there is a rehab facility, a physical therapist, but it's got one of these old movie marquees, and it used to be the Matawan movie theater. And her best friend of 80 years, as we were sitting there and she was looking out, it was an outside eating area, and we were looking out at Main Street, she said, your mother and I lived down by the train station in Matawan, and every weekend we'd walk up Main Street and we'd go to the movie theater. It was a dime to watch 2 movies. And she said, on December 7th, 7 years old, they got dressed, they walked up. As they watched the movie, the lights came on, the movie stopped, and the manager ran out and said, we've been attacked at Pearl Harbor by the Japanese. The movie's over. Please, everyone, exit the building. These were 2 7-year-old girls. They didn't know where Hawaii was. It could have been the Brooklyn Naval Yard, as for all they knew. And the quick 5-minute walk from the house to the movie theater, she said, her and my mother, it felt like a 20-mile hike. They were so scared, and they ran home. And she goes, I can close my eyes right now, because we went back after the movies and we listened at your mother's grandparents' radio about the coverage that day. And she goes, I can close my eyes 80 years later, and I can remember what your great-grandmother's wallpaper looked like, what we were wearing, what the color of the couch was. It was that vivid of a memory. And it's just amazing. And it's important, as the mayor said, we're losing so many of that generation that were there, that eyewitness account, that it's important to hold this ceremony every year. It's important to remember that day where America really sort of grew up. Our innocence sort of was gone. We became a superpower overnight. But it's really important. And it's, for my generation, and all of you remember on 9/11, you can remember where you were, and it's important to hold that. I'm from Monmouth County. Brookdale Community College has an amazing thing in their library. They spent years taking testimony of World War II veterans, video testimony. So that documentation will be around forever for generations to see. But as the mayor said, it is so important to commemorate this day, because it is such an important day in American history, and it's a real honor to be here again today. So thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, Assemblyman. I'd like to read a proclamation that we've prepared for today's ceremony. Whereas today, December 7th, 2022, marks the 81st anniversary of the unprovoked attack on our nation over the island of Oahu. More than 2,400 precious lives and much of our Pacific fleet were lost. Yet the ensuing unification of our people proved mightier than the attack that aimed to weaken us. On National Pearl Harbor Remembrance Day, we pay tribute to the men, women, and children, military and civilian, who lost their lives on December 7th, 1941. We also honor all those who served in the wake of that infamous day and recognize the sacrifices today's service members make each and every day in the fight against injustice and oppression around the globe. 16 million Americans left behind everything they knew and everyone they love to fight for freedom far from home and liberate a continent from a grip of tyranny. Courageous individuals from all walks of life crossed oceans, they stormed beaches, uplifting a generation and paving the way for our fiercest adversaries to become some of our closest allies. Together, our greatest generation overcame the Great Depression and built the largest middle class and strongest economy in history. Today, with solemn pride and reverence, let us remember those who fought and died at Pearl Harbor, acknowledge everyone who carried their legacy forward, and reaffirm our commitment to upholding the ideals for which they serve. Because of their extraordinary valor, America emerged from this test, as we always do, stronger and better than ever. 81 years after the attack, the people of the United States owe a tremendous debt of gratitude to all our members of our armed forces who served at Pearl Harbor and in the many conflicts that followed in all battles of World War II. Their selfless dedication and sacrifice will never be forgotten. We stand as a nation dedicated to affirming the inherent dignity of every person. On this day, let us honor the memory of all who gave their lives, and let us resolve to uphold the principles and values of our country, for which generations of brave men and women have fought and made the ultimate sacrifice. Now, therefore, I, Owen Henry, Mayor of the Township of Old Bridge, County of Middlesex, State of New Jersey, and together with the Township Council, I hereby proclaim December 7th, 2022 as a National Pearl Harbor Remembrance Day, and call upon all citizens to observe this solemn day of remembrance to honor our military, past and present, with appropriate ceremonies and activities in honor of those patriots who died as a result of their service at Pearl Harbor. Thank you. Just in closing, I think actions speak louder than words today. We really need to live up to our obligation and responsibilities about remembering today, but also I think even more important, as our speaker said today, we need to pass this on. We need to let our generation know. I know I had a talk with my little 7-year-old grandchild last night about Pearl Harbor as we were setting up a little play mat in the living room, and I was setting up the military soldiers and the ships, and we were reenacting what Pearl Harbor might have looked like, and he was very impressed with that. So we're going to place this wreath outside by our memorial. I don't expect everyone to come outside. The weather is not very nice. So we're going to take a 5-minute break. We're going to allow OBTV to go set up outside. Then we will carry the wreath outside and place it for a moment of silence. If everyone wants to join us, they're more than welcome. Then we will come back here and we have refreshments in the back room for everyone. So please, if you have a story to tell, please tell it. So that will conclude today's ceremony. Inside, we'll be taking it outside in about 5 minutes. Thank you, everyone, for being here, and I really appreciate you participating in today's ceremony. And thank you, our special guest, for showing. Thank you. Thank you, everyone. We'd like to have a moment of silence now. We've placed a wreath at our memorial here on Pearl Harbor Drive. But please, a moment of silence for everyone in our thoughts and prayers, our military. Thank you, everyone. And our thought for today is pray for peace. Thank you.
Yes, sir.